Hey guys, Grandy Tamayas here, and today I'm going to be looking back on the Transformers Rise of the Beasts trailer and giving my speculation in regards to one of the big questions about this film so far. Is this connected to the Michael Bay saga? And with my analysis of this topic, I'll also be making a few corrections to some of the observations I made in my trailer breakdown. Check that out if you haven't. Before I begin though, I do have more Transformers videos planned by the time Rise of the Beasts comes out, so consider subscribing if you want to see those and keep up with that. And by the end of this video, if you want to give some feedback, be sure to use the like or dislike button. And if there's anyone who you think would benefit from this video's information, I'd certainly be appreciative if you could share this video as well. Now, onto the speculation. Since the release of the 2018 Bumblebee movie, it has been debated whether the films have been rebooted, or if Bumblebee and this new film are just prequels that are going to connect back to the 5 Michael Bay films set in their present day. Personally, I believe that despite Michael Bay being a producer on this film and Bumblebee, they are rebooting the film universe. And that any of the events in the Bay films that took place before Bumblebee is set did not happen in the timeline of that film. Which is a lot considering that all 5 films have at least one flashback set in a year prior to when Bumblebee takes place in the late 1980s. Not to mention all of the contradictory details the Bay films have with each other. I could go into all the discrepancies, but then I'd be here for a long time, so let's focus more on Rise of the Beasts specifically. The film is reportedly set in 1994, a full 13 years before the main events of the first Michael Bay Transformers film. On the outset, this wouldn't necessarily conflict with that film, or any of the later set ones, since they never explored the 80s or 90s much, if at all. However, the biggest argument some people have used for Rise of the Beasts being canon to Bayformers is that Optimus Prime now has the same face and energon swords that he did up until Age of Extinction. Now, I did complain about the face in my trailer breakdown, but I don't actually hate the face itself. I think it looks fine on the Michael Bay Optimus Prime. His body design in this film and Bumblebee is more simplistic in shape, parts don't jut out everywhere, and there aren't as many individual angular pieces. So that's why I think the face just looks out of place and why they should have just kept the battle mask the entire time like in G1. While I'm on the subject of character designs though, one thing I noticed after my previous video was that Bumblebee's chest does kind of segment apart similar to the Bay films, whereas in the mid-credits scene of his spin-off movie, his chest was mostly one piece similar to a lot of the G1 car Autobots. Honestly, this design looks alright and would still fit with the aesthetic of the Bumblebee film in my opinion, and I am starting to get used to the door wings again. Also, to preserve continuity with the 2007 film, he would have to lose his off-road upgrades and revert back to his unmodified 1970s Camaro that he turned into at the end of his 2018 spin-off film. Certainly possible, but not something Bumblebee would normally do, at least not in any of the films released prior to Rise of the Beasts, since he just kept upgrading his car mode, sometimes multiple times per film. But we all know that's just so Hasbro can keep making toys. But with Bee's slightly more complicated design and Prime's face, I'm starting to question whether the filmmakers are trying to transition to the Bayformers aesthetic. I mean, I like some of those character designs, and unlike what most adult viewers complained, I as a kid was able to discern almost all the time who is fighting who. However, I do prefer consistency because I find it really weird that, for example, since Megatron would still be frozen during the Bumblebee movie, he'd still have his 2007 movie design and would still look like a walking ball of aluminum foil compared to some of the more compact and colorful designs of the other Decepticons in that movie. I know that there was supposed to be a deleted scene where Sector 7 had Megatron and he was supposed to look more like he did in G1, but again, how would he have changed his design if he were still frozen? And for other characters, like how do you go from this to this, or these to these, or this to this? Oh wait, now Wheeljack doesn't look like either of his previous film designs. I'm not even mad that he's not in G1 colors, or that he's a VW bus. Why does he have goggles and a mouth instead of the same head design that he did in the Bumblebee movie? Look at this, he looks like Steve Urkel. Another character design to better reflect their Bayformers counterpart is Arcee. In Revenge of the Fallen, she was part of a set of triplets including Chromia and Elita 1, and transformed into a red Ducati motorcycle. While we don't know yet if Chromia or Elita 1 exist in the timeline of the Bumblebee movie, or if they have any connection to this Arcee, she is now red and transforms into a 90s model Ducati motorcycle. Additionally, she is now much smaller in her robot mode than she was in the Cybertron scene, where she was comparable in height to Cliffjumper. And somehow, despite her motorcycle wheels being all the way up on her back, Arcee also has the ability to roll with them on her feet in robot mode, much like her Revenge of the Fallen self. Though in that film, she was always rolling and didn't have actual legs. Gee, what was it with Revenge of the Fallen and wheel-footed robots? Oh yeah, and while her new design is overall similar to how she looked on Cybertron, I did notice a few differences, like her arms being slimmer, most of the upper chest, the Princess Leia buns on her helmet looking a bit larger, and she does have the pink visor that she used in the 1986 movie. So somehow Arcee in Rise of the Beast manages to be more accurate to both Bayformers and G1 designs at the same time. And I've talked about her long enough, so I'm going to move on to the last Autobot we see in the trailer. Mirage in Rise of the Beast looks and sounds absolutely nothing like how he does in Dark of the Moon. Yes, I know in the movie they called him Dino, but in all the marketing and games and such, they called him Mirage, so for all intents and purposes, he is Mirage. But considering that he is likely going to have a huge role in this film, his case sticks out like a sore thumb. Design-wise, he is a little more complex than most of the other characters we've seen so far, and wouldn't look out of place in the Bay films. I'd say that he's on the same level as Shatter and Dropkick, who look like they could fit in either era. As for the new non-Autobot characters, if this is connected to the Bay films, something would have to happen to the Maximals to explain why they don't appear in the 2007 film. But Optimus Primal does imply time travel when he tells Optimus Prime,
"Of all the threats from both your past and future."
And time travel is a central plot point of the Beast Wars series, so that could explain their eventual absence. Side note, the only Maximals we know of so far are Optimus Primal, Rhinox, Cheetor, and Airraiser, but we don't know if Rat Trap or Dinobot will be in it yet, or the Predacons for that matter. Instead, we have the Terrorcons as the main villains, which aren't the ones that combine into Abominus from G1, or the Dark Energon zombies from Transformers Prime. The Decepticons, as far as we know, are completely absent in this film, which does leave open the possibility that Megatron is still frozen, like I said. But I don't want to get too sidetracked on how Sector 7 and the Allspark fit into this. As far as the Terrorcons go, Scourge, Battletrap, and Niper don't appear in the Bay films, so it's likely that they'll all die in Rise of the Beasts, or one of the next two films, since Paramount has confirmed that Rise of the Beasts is going to start a new trilogy. So again, the choice of villains could have been made on purpose to preserve continuity if all the films are supposed to be connected. I've also heard rumors that Scourge and the Terrorcons could be connected to Unicron, which is supposedly what Optimus Primal warns Optimus Prime about when he says,
"There is a darkness coming."
But I'm not sure how they're going to connect that to the setup at the end of The Last Night, or if they're just going to drop that and have Unicron be the classic planet-eating robot planet from G1. While I can definitely see the multitude of reasons why people would want to argue that this is a prequel to the Michael Bay films, there are still some aspects that seem impossible to reconcile, like Mirage becoming a red Ferrari and gaining an Italian accent, or perhaps more importantly, the transition to the Bayformers' design aesthetic. Not just with the characters, but Cybertron would also have to go from the G1 style planet we see in Bumblebee to the honeycomb design that we see in the 3rd and 5th films. So going back to what I was saying earlier, did all the Transformers decide that they and their planet should look more spiky and have overly exposed mechanics? And keep switching design aesthetics throughout the entire movie timeline? Like I said, I like to believe that this is a reboot, but from the evidence I've presented so far, it is seeming intentional that the filmmakers are trying to use Rise of the Beasts to repair the movie timeline. Even though it was already beyond repair when The Last Night was released. And I say this as someone who likes the Bay films other than that one. I didn't want them to reboot just because Bumblebee was a better movie, I just think we needed a clean slate mostly because of the continuity mess that The Last Night caused. Or who knows, maybe the time travel stuff with the Maximals could be used to explain why these inconsistencies keep happening. I mean, the new Flash movie is resetting DC, plus multiverses are all the rage in pop culture right now, so maybe it could work for Transformers. But let me know in the comments what you think. Is Transformers Rise of the Beasts going to be connected to the original 5 Michael Bay films, or do you think it'll continue on a new path and forget what those films have established? With all that said, I hope you enjoyed, have a nice day, and thank you for your time.